Hello, everybody. All right. So, of course, before we get started too much here, as we wait for more people, Metal, you want to introduce yourself? Talk about any projects you're doing, or share any links before we get going here. I just remembered I got to do something real quick, so I'm going to go off camera here for a moment. So,
Okay,
if
yeah.
you want to share any links or promote anything, go for it.
Well, I am the Metal. I make a lot of different things in general, but since we're talking about comics, I do make comics, and you can find any of the stuff I make over at xdynamischaos.com, which I will leave in the chat. I can get the link. Which has it's different comics. One titular comic under the same name, X Dynamis Chaos, but there are several stories there. There's also some, I guess, web novelization similar to pulps on there as well, and then a bunch of articles and background information on the world. You can literally get lost on that site for hours.
All right. So here's the So, and this for your comic right here. This link's for your
Yes,
comic.
this is for that entire fictional world, which is mostly built out of the comics. Yes.
Okay. So you guys want to check that out? There it is. Anyways, so anything else?
Oh, well, I guess tomorrow, being Saturday, like always, I host my semi-weekly show, the Vomitorium. That actually finding out about that genre overseas, I guess the what's it, AC? It's AGCN. That's it, right? That's what China, Japan, and a bunch of Eastern Asia. It's AGCN, which is the anime or animation, games, comics, and novels. I guess that's actually probably just the perfect category to put it in there. I mean, sometimes we talk about things that aren't animation and film, but I actually last time we spent a whole 20 minutes at the end of the show talking about stuff that we are or aren't looking forward to coming out the rest of the season or possibly the next season of anime. So,
Right.
like that's just the general stuff we talk about over there.
Right. Well, I do know one of the times I came in, actually it was what, a week or so ago, because of what was going on. Of course, we did talk a little bit about daylight savings time there too. I think that was
Oh
last
yeah.
week. So when I dropped in, just talking about that, just reminding everybody about it and all that. So, and I guess you were putting another link in on. Is this the Vomitorium? Is this the YouTube channel, the Vomitorium channel? All right, so if you guys, there's the channel. If you guys want to check that out as well, go and subscribe to him and go catch some of his work there. So, all right. So, anyways, we're coming up on 4 minutes here. So, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna tell everybody. I know it just seems like it's just you and me right now. I would think, but I'm gonna just go ahead and tell everybody what's on tap for tonight. So, as you know, tonight is our weekly look back at comics history. Tonight, we're going to be focusing in on books that went on sale from Quality Comics back in December of 1939. The two books we're going to be going over tonight are Smash Comics Volume 1, Number 7, and Feature Comics Volume 1, Number 29. Of course, among the features include Espionage with Black X, let's see, Invisible Hood, Dollman, The Clock, and Charlie Chan. So, and there's JR. Hey, JR Exner. Hail Xenu and Xena. All right. So, anyways, with all that being said, and as always, guys, if you can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we get some more friendly people in here to engage, that would be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and we will do our best to answer the questions. Meadow, you feel like reading tonight, or you want to just commentate?
I think just commentate.
All right. I guess I'll be doing all the voices again tonight. Okay. And then it says Hail Metal and Mike. Yeah. All right. So, anyways, let's pull up our first. Pull up Smash Comics Volume 1, number 7. Then here. And, all right. And Metal, as always, of course, if anything there catches your attention, feel free to comment in there or comment on it.
Oh, absolutely. As you know, there are some strange things that always stick out to me that I feel the need to point out.
Yeah, been a while since last. Well, yeah, because now, here's the thing: we're into December of 1939, so for like the last 3 months of coverage of like October, November, December, it's taken me 13 weeks to cover each month. Okay, 13 weeks to cover October 1939, 13 weeks to cover November of 1939, and 13 weeks to cover December 1939. Because as you guys have seen, we've had some new companies pop up. We've had some new comics. We're just with RJ last week. We were just looking over Target Comics Volume 1, Number 1 from Novelty Press with some pretty impressive characters. So. Anyway, so now we are back to quality, and we're going to start off with a few features from Smash Comics here. So we'll get into that. Smash February number 7, 10 cents. Espionage featuring Smash Comics featuring Espionage. Bozo the Robot. Archie O'Toole, Abdul the Arab, and featuring Wings Wendell, Invisible Hood, Cheat Carter, Filled Pot Deep, Clip Chance, One Clue, Captain Hook, John Law, and many others.
I had to do a double take real quick. When Abdul the Arab showed up, my first glance, I'm like, that's an Arab, because I thought that was like blonde hair under a headband, and then I realized it's a kafaya. It's just really yellow because of the colorization.
Right. Well, they did make these quite bright back then. Right. Wings, if we get caught in this air defense net, we're done for. All right. So, anyways, and of course, print boys, print cards, cuts, tickets, labels from real printers, metal type with printer's ink. Print boys. I'm just gonna look at the stuff look for $2 here. You can get a printing machine right there. Back in those days.
Wow, that sounds pretty expensive. Probably not for everything that goes into a printing machine, though. Like that's probably appropriately priced.
Yeah.
I want a printing press.
Yeah. Benjamin air pistol with lever hand pump. And then rear end speedster. Look at these ads. The kids, the comic books not only provided entertainment, but also was the kids' one-stop shop for anything and everything they could possibly want, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, there were the very few comic magazines that continued, even up to when I was a kid, still had ads like that. Because Scout Life, which had been around since like 1911, was still continuing under the brand Boys Life when I was a kid. And it had pretty much all the same types of ads, some more modern, like build your own hovercraft out of a vacuum and stuff like that. But you still had like pellet guns and everything in there. It felt the same. It was like the same experience if you were reading it.
Mm-hmm. Right, so the first feature here we're going to look at espionage, starring the Black X. Oh, look at that skull pilot.
I actually really like that. That's a well drawn skull.
And then Black X there is on the right there. All right, so for years, the military dictators of Europe prepared for a long conflict, and by the outbreak of the Second World War, the dictatorship Axis and the democracies each had a mighty war machine which they hurled against each other with terrible results. An immovable force against an invincible army. The two mighty powers are at a stalemate. You see the picture right there? The democracy versus dictator Axis. But the dictatorships are landlocked, and the democracies have one free weapon, the dread economic blockade, the seizure of food ships. Mm-hmm.
That is a very powerful weapon.
Yeah.
People starve, they can't really fight.
Right. No nutrition, no energy to battle back from. Unless you can find a way to somehow grow your own food. But
it's not even just necessarily, it's also transport, right? So if you got trains, you could get the food across the people, but shipping is usually the most effective way to get food to people if you can.
Mm-hmm. We can get across the Atlantic to South America. That is the answer to our problems. But America anticipates the move, and in defense of the Monroe Doctrine, the Pan American Congress erects the Caldwell Line, a floating barrier that lines the eastern coast of the entire Western Hemisphere. Wow.
Yeah, and it's actually something that happened even before we got directly involved in the war. Some people already consider us involved because due to our previous treaties trying to remain neutral, we did have to create blockades.
To keep them from trying to attack our ships and stuff, right?
Not just our ships, but also to like abuse our allies, because you said they bring up the Monroe Doctrine. We basically had to cut off anybody from both of the Americas because we had stuff in the entire Caribbean, right? We had islands that belonged to us. Our allies had islands that belonged to them and everything.
Okay, so a mighty Axis armada swoops across the Atlantic and smashes against the Caldwell Line, but in vain. At the dictator's headquarters, the attack failed. We must get through it. We must get through it. Direct attack is futile. Sabotage is the only way. Bore from within. And the mighty long arm of the secret police reaches across the Atlantic. Sabotage! Floating bases off Cape Cod. At a moment, they're blown our armada. They're blown. Our armada will attack the weakened line. The great American defense will be smashed. In America, the agents of the Axis powers respond to orders. Our first. All right. Hey. Trying to figure out the exact voice here. Oh wait. Actually, that looks like a woman right there. Our first objective will be Black X, America's ace agent. He must be removed. I will give a party for several Washington diplomats. Among them, Black X will kill him then and begin the sabotage, while the espionage is in a frenzy of excitement. At Black X's apartment, and this is, and just a little bit of a note here. Even though she goes by a slightly different name, this lady will become Black X's basically arch nemesis. Ultimately, they go with the name Madame Doom, but here she's known as Madame La Coquine.
Have they changed it? Because we met her previously.
Yeah.
I've done the voice for her before.
Yeah. Well, I think they changed her and then they changed her back. If we did see her before, if we did see Madame Doom before, I think they changed her then changed her back. Look, Batu, an invitation to Madame La Coquin's party. Is odd? Yes, Batu. Very odd. This seems to tie up with the investigating I've been doing lately. I'll accept it. The night at a palatial home on Cape Cod. There's our man. Just walked into the garden. Get him now. Batu, what? Master. Sorry to use jujitsu, but have overheard foul plot. Watch, master. Why? It's a vision of me walking down the path. Suddenly, two men lunge from the foliage. That was a cinch. Well, Madame La Coquine need, huh? Come. There's no time to waste. We've got to get to the docks at once. Batu, you're a real friend. We'll follow them. Soon vision of you will fade. Ha, good joke on them. On the dock, Madame and her aides now open a trap door to an underwater torpedo base. Interesting. Hey there, Metal.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Everything is ready. Batu, take that note I gave you to the Coast Guard. Hurry. Call the man of the death squadron together. Gentlemen of the Death Battalion, we are pledged to destroy the American bases. We will draw lots for the first to steer the death torpedo. Whew, a suicide squad. They get into a torpedo and steer it. They blow up with the projectile. I've got to stop them. Black X enters the room. The first to move gets a bullet. Black X, I thought you were. Sorry to disappoint you. I'm quite alive enough to pull this trigger. If do you think that we who are pledged to die in a torpedo fear your bullets? Your point is well taken, but dead men can't drive torpedoes. Suddenly, one of the men dives at Black X. With Black X off balance, the rest attack. Black X fights like a tiger, but the odds are too great. Our American is indeed a fighter. It took 5 of you to subdue him. This time we shall not fail to kill him. Give me your gun, Max. Suddenly, the door of the radio room is thrust open. The fleet is advancing. HQ orders that we start at once. Immediately, the room is in confusion. No time to bother with him. Throw him into the radio room. Hurry. Boris is number one. Boris is number 1. Kurt is number 2. Adolf is number 3. Line up alongside the tubes. Stolidly, the men enter the fateful projectile. Projectile, yeah. Ready? Meanwhile, Black X comes to in the radio room. Those lights on that blackboard, they show the takeoff of the torpedoes. Good gosh, I've got to stop them now. Stop them somehow. Desperately, Black X tries to break his bonds and succeeds. He rushes at a radio operator who fires but misses. Bang! Bang! For one terrible moment, they are locked in a death struggle. Black X leaps frantically to the radio. Hello, hello, calling Coast Guard. Planes calling Coast Guard. Planes. High above, his message is caught. Hello, this is Flight Commander Case. Come on. Take possession 200 yards off the rock ledge. Hurry, for heaven's sake. Black X calling. But even as Black X issues directions, the first torpedo is released. Checking here. Oh, so we do actually have some more. Let's see. I'd be interested in a history of robots in comics and literature. How long have man imagined robots before they became a real possibility? I think it goes back to the early part of the 20th century there. You have any
longer than that.
Longer than that?
I actually answered that in like 2 or 3 messages.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. All right. Hail shoot. Let's see.
Yeah. So there might be some earlier. It's been a while since I've read Egyptian myth, which a lot of the Greek stuff stems from, and it might be in there too. But some of the earliest that I can pull off the top of my head in storytelling go back to Hephaestus's automatons in Hellenistic myth. And I was saying that to JR.
Hi, Mike Metal, JRX here. And then you wanna read this one since it was.
Yeah, and he says, yes, Emperor Charlemagne received a water clock with a automania from Baghdad, I think from the Ottoman Caliph, which there would be stuff all around that area. Yeah.
And again, I ask, if you guys can like and share. If you haven't already, be and like and share the stream. Then we get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. So with that, getting back to the comic here, of course, it is spotted and a plane swoops over it. Torpedo number 2 hit. Torpedo number 2 hitting for sub base 15. All right. Got him. Thanks again, Mr. X. Meanwhile, below the surface in the radio room, keep scouting, Commander Case. There is one more torpedo to go out. Drop that radio, Black X.
I just have to say, not only is this weird for him to try to defuse this situation, but it's probably because the plan he's trying to defuse is dubious at best. Like what they're actually, the scope of what they're trying to accomplish here is ridiculous. It is still something that needs to be stopped, but like, I could imagine they could have come up with a better plan than this.
Yeah. Once again, I guess we're critiquing the reasoning behind how they're doing the storytelling, right?
No, honestly, I think the storytelling's fine here. I'm not even gonna critique that. I'm trying to like fully just buy into the world that's set in front of me. So instead of like criticizing the writer here, I'm gonna start criticizing the villains. They wrote some pretty nonsensical villains, right? That gives a very interesting situation that X has to jump around because their plan is pretty dubious.
You're too late, Madame La Coquine. I like your nerve. I can see now why you've so great a reputation. It's a deadly game we spies play. Deadly but exciting and fascinating. And the stakes are life and death. You've spoiled our plot, but I can still sink one of your floating air bases. What? Don't. You'll never make it. There are 10 planes scouring the seas. Stay, you're too beautiful to sacrifice yourself. now this it's
very
there are a few features, and this is one of them, where you have a male protagonist and their like primary adversary is a female antagonist, and they do you see it here, and I know of a couple of examples. Now here with Madame Loco Queen, but even more so with Madame Doom. But I've also seen it like in a couple of DC features, like a little bit with Zatanna or Zatara and Tigress, the original Tigress, and then also with King Standish and the Witch.
Yeah, it's very It's very spy feature in this case too, right? There's something like a trope that we would see in the first Bond pulp later on in the 50s. But like the spies and women, whether they're good or bad, whether they're femme fatale or not, for some reason they can just kind of pull over women into being dangerously attracted to them and almost diffuse situations because of it.
Yeah. So, let's see. Interesting, a plane is able to stop a torpedo in the water somehow. Yeah, again, I would imagine what probably happened is they probably launched a missile, and they just didn't. They just chose to have people assume that maybe they dropped a missile or something at it to stop it. So, what's your favorite U.S. Oh, metal. Kim was asking you something here.
That's so tough because a lot of them are really, really good. But I would probably have to say, I can't remember the episode number, but it corresponds to the chapter when both couples, Ataru and Lum, and I can't remember the rich boy's name. But both couples end up going into a cave to try to get lost with each other, but they're also trying to like switch who they're getting lost with, and it's just shenanigans the entire time. It's a really, really good episode.
And then this is what happens when comics don't have enough gay coding. Well, no, this is actually what I think more people would have wanted back then, is to see more of a traditional romance. What's your favorite epic of Gilgamesh? I don't think I have one.
There's only the one Epic of Gilgamesh. It's the oldest story we have on record, that at least written form of it. But if you're gonna say what's my favorite part from it, it's probably where Gilgamesh and Enkidu go into the forest and have to face off against the kind of like god spirit demigod thing that Humbaba that guards the forest. Yeah.
And then explain what Vinland Saga is.
That would take too long.
Yeah.
But you could just watch the anime. It's pretty good.
What is your favorite South American cannibal soccer team?
I'm not aware of any cannibal soccer teams from anywhere, especially South America.
Yeah. So, anyways, getting back to the comic here. I believe you really meant that. Sorry, I'll have to lock you in. Goodbye. Wait, you're going to your death.
This part also fits her name really well, right? Where like they're getting close and embracing, but then she pulls a gun up to him, because her name La Coquine comes from French, which usually would be le, because you would use that indiscriminately for a man or woman. But it basically is like saying you rascal. It's a rascal, sly, somebody who shouldn't be trusted.
Yeah. Interesting with some of the names they came up with, particularly for villains back then too.
Yeah.
And in a few moments, left alone, Ace, Black X rather, turns to the instrument panel. I can't order her death. Somehow she's different. Calling. Where is the? Why don't you answer? Tell us position. No answer, Chief. Something must have gone wrong. Look, there is fire. Meanwhile, Black X breaks out of the radio room. I've got to save her. They'll get her if I can reach the control levers in time. I can change her course. Somewhere at sea, a dull explosion echoes to the shore, and the controller lever goes limp in X's hand.
See, I have an issue with this. I'm starting to not like X as a person, right? As a character, he's still good to read about. I'm not liking him as a person. And part of it is like, this lady is a terrorist functioning for enemy militaries, right? This lady is committing war crimes, and you're trying to stop her from dying when she probably deserves it just because she's hot.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Granted, not to the same scale as this, but wait till we read some King Standish features, and wait till you see the interaction between King Standish and the witch. Okay.
Yeah.
Granted,
I'm just saying, I would have shot her.
Gravity, because it's not a matter of life and death in their little escapades, mind you, but it's still kind of similar in the ways of oftentimes. Well, it happened even with Zatara and Tigress as well, a little bit. Not again.
Yeah, but it's like, does he think if he brings her back, he'd have to like keep her hidden away in a cabin or something somewhere, because if she has to face for her crimes, she's going to be shot anyway. Especially at this time, she probably would have been put up in front of a firing squad.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I could suggest a very dark idea, that would be that, granted she'd still be alive, but maybe not living a life that
Yeah,
she would want to.
I'm just saying, like, this is a horrible person that should probably just be put down.
Yeah, I mean, all right, let's see. What is your favorite clause in the South Africans apartheid constitution? All right, I guess
I'd have to reread it.
I've never read it. So, what? You never heard of cannibal soccer team? And you need more pop culture knowledge. And man, you need to watch the movie first. Mind blowing, then read the book. Mind blowing. I don't watch a whole lot of movies to begin with, but anyway.
I do watch a lot of movies. I don't know. Maybe I'll read, like, I'll look into it and check it out. But honestly, like, pop culture knowledge, you can know like 90% of things out there, right? You can be the person that everybody turns through for answers to questions, but then the one random thing in that 10% of knowledge you don't have comes up, and then somebody's like, "Man, you really need to know more."
Yeah, I get that, because I'm kind of the same way. They got her. I was too late. At sea, the advancing dictators armada meets the prepared American Navy. Instead of a sabotage defense, they are met with powerful resistance.
I'm also in jest, just to be clear. I'm saying that in jest.
Saying what in jest?
Oh, my little imitation of the man. You need to know more. Like, I'm just making a joke.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Aboard the enemy flagship. Bah! Our spies have failed. We can't turn back now. Give battle. Aye, sir. The American batteries reply with a deadly salvo. And all that night, on a high rock on Cape Cod, a tall, lone figure watches the historic battle until the last rumble of the batteries dies away before the dawn. Now, in this case, you know what the word batteries means, right? In this case,
oh God, battery. No, I don't think I'm picking up what it means specifically in this case.
In this case,
unless it's like ramming into something,
it's
like
not the power battery. It's not. That's
yeah,
not
like hitting something battery, right?
yeah,
Like ramming into something. Okay, like
weaponry.
assault and battery.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
The batteries in this case is the weaponry they're using. The dictator fleet is driven back far across the Atlantic, heartened the democracies smash forward in a land attack. Allies in big push, battle rages, West Wall crumbles, dictators routed, offensive on. The dictators capitulate, an armistice signed in Geneva. World peace is now a reality. Okay, let me explain something to you, particularly about the quality comic universe at this time, right?
Yeah, that might add some context here.
Yeah, they were doing this a lot. They were, in fact, and they'd also have they'd have a number of fake countries that they'd have some kind of mini war or whatever with made up countries like Tuvania and Germania and Japania and all that and Turkoya.
These just sound like different ways of saying the real countries.
At the end of the story, they'll do something like this where the enemy surrenders and world peace is achieved. It's pretty simplistic. This and most likely, if the next time we read a Black X story, it'll be pretty much the same. And in this time in late 39 into 40s is we before we actually enter the war, mind you. Will be these very fanciful depictions of the war effort, where America gets into the war, and then all of a sudden the enemies just fall to their knees and say, "America's great, America's cool, we're defeated, world peace."
I like the fact that they're calling them the dictators, right? Just as like a framing method, because if we actually think about the areas they're talking about, right? Because they're trying to talk about the Axis powers.
Right.
There wasn't a true dictator amongst them, at least not yet, right? At the moment, they were populist leaders that were put into power by their people. They were almost democratically put there, right? But could they have spiraled into full-blown dictatorships? Sure. And almost monarchies if they put like a next of kin in charge afterwards, as a lot of dictators become. But it's a framing device to make them look as bad as possible, which they are pretty bad. But it's still about like the perspective of the side you're on.
Oh, I guess Cement Shoes had to go away again, I guess. So he's saying, "Good night, everyone." And JR was saying, "Movie is alive, so is the book." Yeah, the only title alive I know is the Pearl Jam song.
That's a good song. I actually like that. I like Pearl Jam a lot. But I have heard loosely about the movie Alive. I didn't know that was what it's about. It's like really low on my backlog of things to look at. Maybe I'll bump it up.
Yeah. You see the movie, you'd think a heart-wrenching, amazing story. Then when you read the book Alive, you absolutely cannot believe what a different story is revealed, even though the movie doesn't actually contradict the book. I think the soccer team was flying the Andes between Uruguay and Chile. You might like the Christian, albeit Catholic themes.
Yeah, I don't know. I like all kinds of different themes. Catholicism is fine. I like movies that have really and books that have really strong intent, right? Like thematic messaging and stuff, regardless from where they come. So maybe.
All right. So, anyways, continue on here. Several days later, in Black X's favorite restaurant, and for these stories, this right here is also how they end. How what you're about to see here is how the Black X stories always seem to end.
Yeah, with like this little tiny epilogue that might leave room for the next thing.
Right. In Black X's favorite restaurant in Washington. Congratulations, man. You handled that case magnificently. I say, why so glum? I'm sick of this espionage business. Tired of this endless hunting human beings fighting arch plotters. I'm just about fed up, Chief. I'm resigning right now. Very well, X. If that's how you feel, I'm sorry you are the best man we have. Yes, boy. Confidential for you, sir. FBI wants you to send a man right out to Chicago. They've a hot lead. And you see the kind of see the little question mark, and
it's piqued his interest.
X, where are you running to? I'm going to Chicago. And never mind that resignation. I'm still working for Uncle Sam. Yes, indeed. Espionage is a most fascinating game. Huh?
Yeah, they're almost writing him like, especially if you look that he's trying to get with like every woman enemy that we've seen so far, right? That they're writing him like he's the type of guy that would rather just be dating girls and settling down, but he's almost like addicted to being a spy.
Yeah. So, anyways, and JR, and so yes, a movie and about real life airplane crashing in a mountain and weeks of survival, leading to a combination pacts and emotional
cannibalism pacts,
and a cannibalism pact, an emotional punch. Marvel simply could never compete with. Actually,
Marvel
now
won't
that you mentioned the plot a little bit, while I've never read the book or watched the movie, I think that might actually be based on something that really happened.
Yeah, well, he said a real life airplane crash, so yeah, it's something that happened.
I think what they're talking about is, well, I may be wrong, because I remember there was something like that about, where the people were in the Sierra Madre Mountains and they kind of resorted to cannibalism. But I don't know if that's the same thing here. But anyway,
yeah, no, but my thing about that last part is emotional punch. Marvel simply could never compete with. It's not that they can't, right? Especially because there are even some Marvel stories that if they wanted to, they could go into the heavier, only targeting an older audience area. It's that they won't ever compete with it because the nature of how Disney Marvel's doing their things is that they're trying to get movies out to the least common denominator. So they have to play everything safe, or at least what they think is safe, because they're actually doing things that aren't safe. But from their perspective, they have to play things safe and they have to try to get as many people to buy tickets as possible. They can't actually go in something with like a heavy thematic or emotional intent where that will have payoff by the end. And that's mostly Scorsese's criticism with it and why he calls them theme park attractions or like roller coasters rather than actual cinema.
Yeah. All right. So before we continue on with the readings, of course, I think Archie O'Toole will be the next one We do. What's your overall impression of the story here?
I think the pacing was pretty good. Like I said, I thought I wouldn't say the plot of the story, but the villain's plot was pretty contrived. So I'm just going to choose to embrace the world for what it is and just think that the villains themselves aren't that bright. So with that in mind, I thought it was pretty good.
All right. So let me just get these comments here, then we'll move on. Yeah, it happened in the late 70s or 80s. All right. And then, and this is Woody. So Woody's now going by Woovie now. He was critical, or he was critical bleat before.
Wooksy.
Yeah, he's Woovie now. It is Woody right here.
Yeah.
For everybody to.
Yeah, you don't have to dead name him.
Hi, Mike Taylor, on a hearty handshake at J.R. Exner. Good to hear you broadcasting metal. So, all right. So, and then hail Woody. All right. So, anyway, let's get ready to move on to the next feature then. Oh, another espionage adventure picture story in the March issue of Smash Comics. And there's Abdul the Arab right there. We were talking about earlier. Captain Cook of Scotland Yard.
Yeah, which one did you say was the next one we're doing again?
Archie O'Toole, this one right here by Bud
O'Toole.
Thomas.
Yeah.
And just as a reminder to everybody, Bud Thomas was a pseudonym for Will Eisner.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've mentioned it before. I mean, well, this was a time when Will Eisner was basically leading a group of comic book creators who were actually submitting stories to a bunch of different companies. You know, they'd submit some stories here to Quality. They'd also submit some to like Fiction House. You know, so you'd see a lot of their work out there. But Thomas was one of the pseudonyms that he would use during this time.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
And I assume I'm going to like this because I love Eisner's work.
Yeah. So everyone thought I was a sissy. Shh, readers, King O'Toole is a new man. He thinks he's tough. Let's see what happens. See. One side, Pickle Puss. Where's the boss? Come right in, sir. Look here, you ain't been paying your dues to the King's Union. Yeah, so what? Say he's tough. Grrr. He won't pay his dues, boys. So we see. Guess King O'Toole can't be pushed around. In the castle O'Toole. Your Highness, came from King Crunch. Says you're a big dope. What? Get me the telephone. Hello, Crunch. You big flat-footed, zipper-mouthed, flap-eared, banjo-eyed so-and-so. Oh, yeah? Well, come over here and say that. Pretty funny stuff, huh?
Yeah, and I think the UV light on the scanner actually probably showed something about this old scan, because a lot of older forms of whiteout would sometimes show up similar to like white under a black light when scanned. And if you look at the word flat-footed in like that middle or like the third row,
Oh, but yeah,
right,
where
where there's the purple around the
that
E.
purple
I
spot
think
right
there
there.
was yeah, and even look like there's like almost like a fat little section in the E. I think that letter was messed up originally, had to be white out and redone.
Huh. I will. I'll go right now. He's got a squeaky voice, just a sissy. Give me the paper. I want to see the train schedules. Morning. King Crunch wins boxing championship. Toughest king in the world. Oh boy. Um. hmm. Hmm. A little closer, mit the smelling. A little closer, mit the smelling with the smelling salts. Herman, he's still out. With a little persuasion, Archie finally arrives at the arena. I don't think I like this place. Uh, go ahead in, Archie. Puff. Grrr. Hello, fine weather we're having. Grrr. Go. Grrr. Archie, you're not afraid of this big baboon-faced gorilla, are you? Of course not. What do you say there, Metal? Does he?
Hmm. Hmm.
He said he's not, but what do you think his face is saying?
Ah, I don't know. It's really hard to read because he doesn't exactly look afraid.
Hmm.
He looks more mad than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But he might also I don't know if he looks like he's mad at him or if he's mad at somebody assuming that he would be afraid. Right? Like somebody calling you a coward or a chicken.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me get caught up here. Woody, JR, and then I am still publisher of the Cynical Bleat newsletter, coming soon. All right. Also, RJ will like the flying logo intro. All right. Are we doing clock? Yeah, we will eventually get to the clock. Be patient. The
Usually
clock's
that ends
not
up being
in the
like
clock is not in this book. It's in feature comics.
yeah, and a lot of times when I end up being on with the clock, so it's usually been the last thing we feature because of where it's put in the book.
Right. And how I do it too, because I usually
Yeah.
will, because the clock at this point is still like 4 or 5 pages. So I usually will try to do the longer stories first and then work, basically depending upon the numbers. Normally I'll try to do like I'll start with the story with the most pages and then usually do like kind of a descending,
Yeah,
descending
because it's
order.
easier to squeeze those short ones in at the end if needed.
Yeah. So yeah, I would like to see the clock. I like the way he ticks. Yeah, and of course, as Woody would remind us, could remind us, we have a very special nickname for the clock. Have you heard of that nickname before? I think
I've heard it. I'm trying to remember. It's something napkin face.
yeah, Captain Napkin Face.
Captain napkin. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so bad Woody, bad. Okay, good Woody, good. Um, your tab changed, or okay, YouTube changed to the at names some months ago. Now they enforce uniqueness on both name and at name. I was unable to reclaim Woody.
Oh, I was really, I don't know, lucky or if seniority has something to do with it. I've had my YouTube channel and account for a really long time. But when they rolled it out, I got it like immediately and I went in and I was able to just claim at the medal before anybody else was.
Well, I haven't had any issues with my name or anything like that. Um, so I've anyway. Oh, don't do that, Mike. Anyways, back to the article here, or the comic rather. I'll show him. Bop! Missed. Now you know what that little thing is, right? After missed.
Oh, yeah, that's like a swear.
Yeah. Sailor talk. I've got my hand caught. I can't move. I'm stuck. Grrr. Idea. Hey, what you gonna do? Reduce you down to my size.
Now, you have to think how long, I mean, he's still stuck in the wall, but how long that would have taken to set that entire thing up while he's stuck in the wall, and he couldn't use his other hand to do anything during that time?
Or maybe he's just not bright enough to think that. Brrr. 1 hour later? Is there a reporter around? Here's King Crunch. Is there a reporter around here? King Crunch wants to make a confession. I'm sorry. I called King O'Toole nasty names. Oh, look at that.
Really did reduce him down to his size.
Yeah.
I don't think one of those reduction machines are going to make you lose any height, though. Weight, maybe, but I don't know. Bone structure, still bone structure.
Yeah. But again, that's comics for you, right?
Yeah, and specifically, it's a cartoon, right? Like, if we want to put it in genre, I haven't read any O'Toole, but I am roughly familiar with him because of history. He's a cartoon, right? It'd be like if you read a Popeye comic or something like that, you know? Like, we're reading a cartoon.
Yeah. So another adventure of Archie O'Toole in the March issue of Smash Comics. So now there's Cliff Chan. So now we're going to hit one more story here, and then we'll go over to Feature Comic Volume 1, number 29, which will be, and as soon as I find it here, and all that. The Human Pincushion. Oh, Small Stuff by Devlin. Kind of a featurette kind of thing. There's Wings Window. Still Pot Deep. Getting the kids.
Was it Flash that we were going to read, or?
No.
Invisible
Hood
Justice?
by Art Gordon. And let me see. Now Art Gordon is a pseudonym for author by the name of Arthur Pinajon, I believe. Arthur Pinajon, who also created Madame Fatal, who was a cross-dressing secret agent type. Madness has gripped the city of Glenport. Its largest hotel is in blazes, started by an unknown hand. The evening papers carry the complete story. Capitol Hotel in ruins. Greatest fire in history of Glenport. Police are baffled as hotel safe is missing from ruins. Contained valuable securities of local businessmen. In his apartment, Kent Thurston, the invisible hood, the enemy of crime, reads of the great disaster. So the safe is missing. It couldn't have melted, and yet it's gone. It could have been dragged away, but how? No one could stand that blaze. Later that evening, Thurston is visited by his friend John Steele. Hello, John. Come right in. Evening, Kent. Get your hat. We're going for a ride. I'll tell you about it in the car. We're going to call on Wayman Brent, a business friend of mine. He and I hold securities in a powerful holding company. He seemed very nervous when he called me up. The manager of the Capitol Hotel also held securities in our company, but they're gone now. I suppose you read about the missing hotel safe, Kent. Yes, I did. Sounds very unusual, John. Here we are, Wayman. This is my friend Kent Thurston. Welcome, gentlemen. Come into my study. I've been doing a lot of thinking about our securities, John. John, today my butler saw a few men on the grounds of my estate. Here, they looked very suspicious. In view of what happened at the Capitol Hotel, I have a hunch an attempt will be made to rob me of my securities too. That's why I've sent for you. Just then, a butler rushes into the study. Quick, sir. The house is in flames. We must all get out at once. This way, gentlemen. Never mind the papers. They're in the safe. This place will be a blazing inferno in a few minutes. Hurry. Brent leads the two men through a corridor, but suddenly Thurston stops. We'll be out in a minute. Through the smoke, he dashes toward the cellar. It must be around here. Pretty airy down here, yet I'll hang around for a while. Thurston hides in the cellar. Suddenly, he hears footsteps. Then in the doorway, Step on it, boys. The truck's waiting. Well, I'll be asbestos suits, um, asbestos suits, and everything. Now we know what happened to the safe at the Capitol Hotel. And as Thurston follows them out of the cellar, he sees a small truck pull away from the house. Any comments there yet there, Metal? I haven't heard from you in a while.
No, not really. There really hasn't been anything going on worth commenting in this one. It's kind of just been I don't know, compared to the other stuff we're reading, it's pretty dull at the moment. Maybe it'll pick up.
Yeah, well, let's see. Got a few things here. Oh yeah, Captain. Haha. Captain Napkin Face. Or rather, Captain Napkin Face, as I sometimes affect an accent. The move that gave me the most nightmares as a kid, the movie that gave me was called 4D Man, and a guy stuck his arm in the wall somehow. Okay, and weird things happened, and it scared me for months, even years. 4D Man, I think it was called. Cartoons. Whoops. I need to catch up again. YouTube. It's so much fun. The fire burned so hot, there wasn't even a puddle of slag. All right. So getting ready to continue on here. And as Thurston follows them out of the cellar, he sees a small. Okay, we read that part. Boy, that's clever. Robbing while a fire rages. I've got to get a line on their next job. So, what do you think? Do you think they're specifically targeting certain people with these securities medal? You think that's a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it. Especially for a gig like this, it would be a lot more efficient to target specific people that all have like the same security flaw and everything.
Yeah, and of course this is 1939, so that probably plays in. Next, Thurston dons his hood. Much is covered with which is covered with a secret chemical that makes its wearer invisible, aka why he's called the Invisible Hood. Why his hero name?
Yes, I'm wondering what kind of chemical could ever really do that, but we'll just roll with it.
Yeah. Well, you've heard of like vanishing cream before, right?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So,
if the chemical was like, see, this is the problem with trying to make something invisible, right? If it was really reflective to the point that like light curved around it, then they've got like some suits like this too that digitally kind of almost curve light, and you kind of can see past the person, right? Where it looks like they're not even there because it's refracting the light that's supposed to be behind them to the other side.
Yeah. A car. Some blaze here, hey officer. I'll say. That's the second fire today. Sure is. Funny how they start. Officer, look, my cat. It's moving. Now I'll be. How did that start by itself? I'll have to step I'll have to step some to catch that truck. An hour later, they're turning into a deserted road. This must be it. The truck stops at an abandoned filling station. Here we are. Here we are, boys. Here we are, boys. Quick, take that safe in and open it with a blowtorch. The boss wants those papers. After the men enter the building, the Invisible Hood listens through a side window. It won't be long before they'll have those papers. Hand them over, Bo. The boss'll be glad to get them. Tell everyone to be ready for the next job. Also, Bo, tell them that John Steele's country estate will go up in flames next. Get that? 1 week from today. Ha ha. So, Kent's friend right there. His house is going to be the next target.
Oh no.
You didn't see that plot twist coming, did you?
No, probably not. But I guess it's convenient to keep everything tight.
Yeah. That's all I wanted to know. But what those guys don't know is they're going to have a hot time that night too. 1 week later, at the back entrance of Steele's home, the Invisible Hood waits for the gangster's truck. I've got to stop that fire somehow. Ah, here they come. Okay, you guys, we're here. Get in the cellar. I'll put my suit on and join you in a minute. Boy, this is a snap, huh? But as the driver steps out of the truck, what the? Who's that? Ugh! This drug will put you asleep for a while, pal. Now, to get in his suit and join the little group of fire eaters. Fire eaters, okay? Inside the house. But John, nothing has happened for a week. You thought an attempt would be made to get your securities? Nevertheless, Brent, I'll not put these papers in the safe. They stay right here on my person. Does Brent's query there, does that seem a little suspicious to you?
Yeah, I mean, even before putting it in the context of the next panel, it's almost a little too blunt, right? Like he's showing his hand before. Because why would you ask somebody like that straight up?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll wait and see. In that case, Steele, hand the papers over quick. Give them to me. Oh, a gun? What's the meaning of this? Oh, so you're behind all this, Brent? Why you? Well, okay, so yeah, that next panel kind of spoiled what I was trying to do right there, but
yeah, like I didn't even have to read it. It's just like at a glance, my eye saw a gun and I already knew where it was going.
yeah, I mean, but what I was trying to do a little foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Trying to hint at, the foreshadowing.
But that is something interesting about comics, right? And it's where you could tell a good or bad or even like in between writer against each other is having to think about the fact that panels talk to each other on a page is what makes it different than any other medium for storytelling. And you have to consider, do you want to use the context of the next panel to display the panel now, or do you want to hide information and maybe you should rethink about what you put in the next panel?
Yeah. So anyways, to kind of get caught up on some of the chat here. So log back in those days, there was a class of skin care products called Vanishing Cream. So those disappearing jokes were a lot funnier in cartoon. Well, yeah, because I know. In fact, it's kind of funny because I was recently watching a Popeye cartoon just the other day.
Yeah.
you see Popeye basically. It was one where I think it was Scare Fright or something like that. It was one where Bluto tried to scare Olive into getting rid of Popeye, and then Popeye got revenge on Bluto or something.
I even mentioned one of my favorite examples of that was the Vanishing Cream episode of Tom and Jerry, where it starts off by Jerry falling into the vat of Vanishing Cream, and he's like basically acting like a ghost, hitting Tom and spooking him. And then Tom finds out, so he starts using the Vanishing Cream himself and kind of turns it on him.
Yeah, and that's what you were. And this comment right here is what you were just.
Yeah.
I mean, they use that joke a lot in the Warner Brothers cartoons. Yep. Yeah, Hanna-Barbera, they were geniuses too. Yeah, and even before they came up with Hanna-Barbera Productions, I don't know if you guys remember this, but William Hanna and Joseph Barbera were also directing a lot of cartoons for MGM as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually going back. Tom and Jerry was a MGM production originally.
Right. Mm-hmm. Thanks for the reminder, Metal. All right.
It's actually one of the reasons I always remember that is because a lot of those old Tom and Jerry cartoons start off with the MGM logo, but instead of the lion, it's like it goes from the roar to Tom meowing in the circle.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, yeah. Thanks, John. Now we're going ahead as planned. Only this time, you're going to perish in the flames. Here comes one of my men. Tie this man up with that curtain cord. Sure, boss. Good. Now, give me that fire pistol. You fiend. You fiend. But as Brent leans forward to take the fire pistol, ow! Why, I'll, shock. Quick, friend, look out behind you. As a gangster fire eater leaps at the asbestos-clad invisible hood, Great Scott! There's no one in that suit. It's a ghost. Meanwhile, Brent recovers from the hood's blow. He finds his automatic and ghost, Well, we'll see when I fire this shot. But a flying leap, Steel spoils his aim. Or with a flying leap, Steel spoils his aim. Right, well, at least here is one of the times when a comic will actually show you the arrows and to show you this actual sequence.
Yeah, and like I think we've brought this up before. At this time, I understand why that was more necessary for some of these paneling because they were still experimenting, right? This is all pretty new for people. Some of these paneling methods had only been around for like less than a decade at this point. But like today, if you saw this exact panel setup, right, where you had one over each other and then a long one that did both, your mind would immediately read the two small ones first, top to bottom, before moving to the right side. But like again, I get it for the era that this was done in. This was still fairly recent.
I hate to do this, my friend, but it's a pleasure, rat. Ugh! Ugh! Suddenly, the hood shouts a warning. Steel! Look! 2 more men to take care of. As the 2 fire eaters push into the room, Steel shoots. Bang! Bang! Say, don't just stand there. Take that suit off. I want to see you, and thank you, sir. And the invisible hood removes the fire suit. What Where are you? What is this? Magic? Haha, sort of. Well, Brent and his gang are done for at last. Oh, look at that! They got him like putting his arm over the invisible show. See that image right there?
Yeah, I like it. I like how they do the invisible hood because you could easily have just done the outline of the person and not color it in, right? And that would have worked too. But they do this extra step to like dash or stipple the outline to make it even more blurry that he's there.
Yeah. I'm getting a little dizzy from this power of yours. Come on, let's sit down and you can give me all the answers. Read Invisible Justice each month in Smash Hunt. Now, mind you, the hero's name was Invisible Hood, but the feature was called Invisible Justice. There's
Yeah.
Fulton. I'm just gonna breeze through the rest of this just so you can see it. She Carter, case reporter, and then some tech story here. Sport traits. One clue. And that would get a lot of heat today.
Yeah.
That would get a lot of heat today.
For no good reason, but it would.
Hugh Hazard and his Iron Man. Wayne Reed. Oh, look at that! See that second panel?
No,
Actually, the first.
That's not subtle at all.
Who do you think they were trying to imply there?
Charlie Chaplin.
We know who, but we're not going to say because I don't, because we don't want people squealing like.
Oh, well, I mean, if you don't, that's fine. I just think jokes are funnier.
Yeah. Anyways, and now I'm just moving back up here to where we can, and we'll be moving on to feature comics, volume 1, number 29. So we will. I'm guessing it's likely as you mentioned, the clock will be most likely the last story we hit upon. So we're gonna at least do those things. As I said, if time permits, we might even do some humor stories from feature comics too, but it will depend upon what all happens when we get to that point. So now,
yeah, and I guess while you're pulling that off, I can revisit some of the chat stuff because we were still talking about cartoons, and one of the things I brought up is that probably one of the big names that were associated with Tom and Jerry was Tex Avery, who is my favorite director for Tom and Jerry. Most of my favorite Tom and Jerry cartoons come from him, and Woody seems to have been improperly giving some credit to Hanna-Barbera for some of the stuff that should have been during Tex Avery's run on Tom and Jerry. The other big name that worked on it was the famous Chuck Jones, which had a very different feel to Tom and Jerry, but I still think the cartoons were good.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I need to step away for a quick moment. I'll be right back. But if you want to continue that line of conversation with Woody right now while I'm away, go for it.
Yeah. It seems giving the credit to Hanna-Barbera in my mind, which is probably due to Tex Avery. Thank you so much. I really like to think I know these things, so I appreciate the corrections. Yeah, no, it's God, Tom and Jerry is probably one of my favorite cartoons. It's definitely up there. It was obviously I came to it late, but thanks to reruns on Cartoon Network and Boomerang, I got to grow up watching all of the old ones. And it made me want to look into some of the people who were creating the show that I watched so much. I think I just like the Tex one a bit more because Tex really wanted to ramp up the rivalry between the characters. While when you get to Chuck Jones, he just cared more about the gags, like less about the relationship between the two, but the gags itself, which is why sometimes you'd see them still at odds with each other, but also sometimes you'd see them working together. It's just whatever you thought would be like funnier for that episode would happen. And I don't know. I like the bitter rivalry between the cat and the mouse. I think that was when Tom and Jerry was its best. Both of them outstanding cartoonists, though. Like almost everything that they've worked on. I'm kind of almost in the mood. I might go rewatch some old Tom and Jerry. But one thing you said too, I do agree with some of the later ones after the Chuck Jones era, right? When you start similar to how you brought up Fleischer and Popeye, when you start getting other people, I wouldn't even say less talented cartoonists because they're still talented people work on them, but I mean less experienced people. You're just shifting more people on it over time. There's definitely some pretty awful Tom and Jerry cartoons out there, especially during the era where they tried to make everyone kids in every show. I don't know why that was ever a decision people made, but they really should have just stopped it after Jones, right? Like I think Tex Avery and Chuck Jones are the only Tom and Jerry's that needed to be, and they should have just cut it after that.
All right. So, anyways, I hope you guys were enjoying that discussion while I was gone. So, anyways, let's see. And then, of course, in drawing on my memory from like 60 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think there's a benefit.
Because I've been watching a lot of those Golden Age cartoons myself as well. So
yeah. And there's a benefit, especially for me coming to it late, even the first time, but having all this information already compiled, right? And now we can look things up on the internet. You don't have to have 60-year-old memory. You can have like 5-year-old memory.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I've been like watching like Me Too's and stuff like that. So yeah. Anyways, let's get into the feature comic because I know now we should be able to get through these a bit quick. We're just past the hour and a half mark here. Should be because, as I said, I think the three remaining stories we're gonna focus on were like about 4 to 5 pages each, so we should be able to get through them hopefully pretty quickly here. But anyways, with a little intro here, so feature comics starring, of course, the Clock, as well as Lollapalooza and Vincent right there. Vincent, if you are the Clock, who is that behind you? Also, starring Lollapalooza, the Clock. Also starring Mickey Finn, the Doll Man, Kane Harding, Captain Fortune, and featuring Lollapalooza, Spin Shaw, Joe Palooka, Reynolds of the Mounted, Ned Brandt, Rance Keene, and Dixie Dugan. All right. So, anyways, here we go. Electric football game, which I think was another popular type of game back in those days. Was electric games back then?
Yeah.
All right. So, The Doll Man by William Irwin Maxwell. Using a secret solution that reduces him to the size of a doll, Daryl Dane becomes a terror to the underworld. Now, the Doll Man kind of predates, of course, the Atom, but there was also another, like, kind of, miniaturized superhero called Mini Midget and Centaur comics, I believe, as well.
So, I love that name. Mini Midget is the greatest name for a superhero.
Yeah. Anyway, so Daryl Dane and Dr. Roberts are working busily in their well-equipped laboratory. How about getting some sleep, Daryl? I think I'll work late tonight. Daryl, there's a gentleman to see you. How do you do, sir? I'm Sidney Ambrose, the director of the Metropolis Museum. I've heard quite a bit about your private detective work, and I believe you're just the man who can aid me. I'd like you to read this note. I swore I'd get even with you, and
Tonight will be my night.
And tonight will be my night. um, better watch your paintings. They will be missing by morning. There'd be too much unfavorable publicity if I called the police. So I came to you. Of course, you'll be well paid. Will you take the case? Forget about the money for the present, and let's get started on this case right away. An hour later, Mr. Ambrose, in reality a suave thief, tells his henchman of his visit. It worked perfectly. He's got the key to the west wing. As he enters, he'll trip the alarm, and the guards will come after him. Oh,
it's a setup.
But I guess the guy doesn't know one other little factor there.
I don't think he could.
Yeah.
It's the purpose of having a secret identity.
Right. During the excitement, we'll take the pictures from the east wing. We can't miss. Only I don't think he'd be tripping the alarms, because as the size of a doll, he could probably sneak in without tripping the alarm.
Or even if he did, if he's that small, maybe they'd even miss him anyway.
That's a good point too. That night, Daryl goes to the huge museum. Here's the door. Yep, the key fits now to go to Ambrose's office.
Isn't everything potentially huge to him?
As when he's the size of a doll?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. In the shadows across the street, a group of men watch Daryl from a car. Okay, he's inside. Come on, let's get going. As Daryl pushes the door open, the loud clamor of a burglar alarm is heard. At once, he is attacked by a number of men. He fights furiously, but is quickly overpowered. Okay, keep him up. At pistol's point, Daryl is forced up to an office. We caught this guy breaking in, Director Carruthers. There must be a mistake. Mr. Ambrose hired me to protect his Goya paintings. Ambrose? I know of no such person.
See, in the business, this is what we call a patsy.
Yeah. And I guess he made Daryl Dane there a patsy. You are a thief. I shall turn you over to the police. This is a tough spot. I'll take one of my reduction tablets and go to the east wing as the doll man. Great Scott! The man's vanished. All that's left are his clothes. And look at Now, probably even at this point, they were not liking the idea of having a man once he shrinks out of his clothes being naked. Obviously,
Yeah. I'm trying to. I guess they're probably supposed to be some type of elastic or chemically drenched clothes or something that's supposed to make that under his normal outfit shrink with him.
right? Exactly. I think that's actually one of the things they did mention in some of the notes with it before. So quickly running to the east wing of the museum, Daryl sees Ambrose escaping through a window. Crashing through the glass, Daryl dashes after Ambrose. Quick! Let's get away from here. Unaware of Daryl hanging to the rear of the car, the gangsters speed away. The thieves arrive at their hideout with paintings done by the famous Goya. Excellent. There's these Goyas will bring us a fortune. Hello, who put that new statue there? Lucky it's in the shadow. What an ugly piece. No line, no grace. But plenty of dynamic power, you crook. Oh, look at that. The statue all of a sudden he knocks him out there. Hey there.
Yeah, I don't know, man. The angle his neck's at almost looks like he broke it.
Yeah. I warn you, I'm the doll man. You'd better surrender. Oh, you want to get tough, huh? You asked for it.
I'm guessing his outfit that he wears underneath for when he shrinks it must be a two-piece for him to have just like the trunks short section on when he was pretending to be the statue.
Yeah, it could be. Good night, my friend. What a pretty picture you make. Now, to get the police. These men will soon be behind bars. The gang, safe in jail, Daryl goes home and restores himself. Um, someone here to see you. Director Carruthers, my boy, you saved the museum. I want to thank you for all you've done. Not at all. It was a pleasure. I'm always glad to capture lawbreakers. Another exciting adventure of the Doll Man in the March issue of Feature Comic. Now they've done this with Doll Man. Of course, they did it earlier on with Batman too.
Yeah.
Sometimes they put it as one word. Sometimes they put it as two words. So
Yeah, or
so
maybe
this
something's
story,
bothering me here, right?
huh?
Talking about where I said it must be a two-piece outfit, or maybe it's not, or I mean, two pieces, trunks and a cape, because when you scroll back up to where he first shrinks down, it might have been a coloring error, but it definitely looks like he's got a blue top on that almost makes it look like he's wearing a leotard with a cape over it. But then when he goes to put his cape back on, he doesn't put the top back on.
Mm-hmm.
Bothers me.
Yeah. Well, apparently, I just saw. Let's see. Did you ever watch Beanie and Cecil?
I'm afraid not.
No, I didn't either. That was my absolute favorite. Let's see. Yeah, when they could actually get a little bit mean, and there was one with suicide theme wasn't there, that it's banned now. Oh, whoops! I have marked Mike's chat with a naughty word. I didn't catch it, but then again, I haven't been...
Yes, it's the word where most YouTubers tend to rephrase it as unalived themselves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to rewatch some old Tom and Jerry too. Well, Woody, if you happen to have if you happen to have some form of cable, I do know that Boomerang has some old Tom and Jerry stuff on now, and then MeTV on as part of the Tune In With Me program during the week, as well as at 7:30 Eastern on Saturdays has a block of Tom and Jerry cartoons. Want to check that out? So, laugh out loud. I quit watching media about year 2004, and I really don't know how anything works anymore. All right. So you just pretty much just stream on your computer then, basically.
That's how I mostly catch everything. But yeah, actually, that'd probably be around the year too. As soon as I was able to get stuff on my computer, I just kind of stopped using TV as much as possible.
Well, yeah, I more or less have done that too, but I still like TV, for certain things. Like I have a Fire Stick here for my
Yeah.
TV, that goes with my direct TV as well. And in fact, I just recently installed the Asian Crush app, which
Yeah.
shows Asian drama. It has three parts to it. It's Asian Crush, Retro Crush, and Midnight Run. Asian Crush has a lot of Asian dramas and shows and all that. Retro Crush has the classic animes on it. And then,
Yeah. Well, I think I was still using some TV after that point, but I think in the later aughts, I was pretty much only using it for the late night blocks, right? Adult Swim, Toonami. I'd go over to G4 and stuff like that. But that's about it. That's all I used my TV. That and playing video games, I would use the TV. But now I can just use my computer monitor to play in my video games.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're at an hour 47 here, so I'm going to try to go through the rest of these. So we're probably just going to do the two main stories I talked about, and then, in fact, what I'll probably do, maybe I'll just go straight to the clocks, and that's the one everybody wants to.
That is the big ticket seller.
Well, I think I'll just go to the clock and finish up with the clock then. Probably Chandler. Toddy. Big Top. Good D Doty. Dixie Dugan. Still talking. The clock strikes. Here we go. The feature is called The Clock Strikes, but the character is the clock. So, The Clock Strikes, a complete story by Georgie Brenner. Brian O'Brien, ace criminologist.
Oh, I remember that. I almost forgot that his name was the most basic Irish name you could probably come up with, Brian O'Brien.
Yeah. Receives a phone call. Sure, I'll meet you at the club in an hour and pull yourself together, old boy. It's not as bad as all that. 1 hour later at the club. Sit down, Ted, and give me the story right from the beginning. Shh, not so loud, Brian. Let's go in the library. We'll be alone there. Wait, there's Captain Kane. We'll let him sit in on the conversation. No, don't. I've been threatened with death if I notify the police. Nonsense, Ted. He may be able to help you. Without those without those who threatened you knowing it. Oh, Cap, come here a moment. I'm not telling him my story, Brian. Captain Kane, meet my old school chum, Ted Holt. Glad to know you, Holt. And how are things with you, Brian? Busy? Captain, I think Ted has a story that might be of interest to you. But you got to give me your word. But you got to give me your word that you or the police department will not interfere. At the same time, across the street, he's talking to that cop King and another guy, Trigger. You know what the Reaper said if he called in the cops. Let him have it. Ugh! Andy, call a doctor. Yes, sir.
I don't think that's the sound you make when you get shot.
Ugh?
Yeah, I don't know.
But that does seem to be the one that they often write in that case. He was picked off from the outside. Come on. Captain, look. 2 men came from the building and they're heading for that car. Come on, we'll follow them in mine. Step on it, Dutch. We're being tailed. Head for the park. Bang! You hit them, Captain. They're swaying. Look. Yeah, right off the road. This guy's dead, and no identification on him. You find the other guy. Nope. Well, we may as well go back and see how Holt is. I'll send the cold meat wagon after this guy. So, okay, this is 1939. So, what do you think cold meat wagon means here?
Cold meat wagon at this time? Probably an ambulance. Or no, probably a hearse.
A hearse or maybe the coroner's truck?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. I called the hospital, sir, and they said Mr. Holt's condition is very serious and that he's not to have any visitors. Oh, yes, and he's in room 407. Thanks, Andy. I'm going down to headquarters. Want to come along, Brian? No, I've got a few things to attend to before I turn in. The captain doesn't know I found this note addressed to the Reaper when I was looking for the crook who survived the accident. I wonder if Ted is able to talk yet. The clock approaches the hospital where Holt lies wounded. And look at that. And can you see why we call him Captain Napkin Face?
Oh, yeah. Well, I could see that the first time.
If it's a Reaper who's after Ted, this case is as good as solved.
So actually, a scene was going through my mind again when you asked about the meat wagon, and then it clicked with me with the coroner. Have you ever seen the movie Tommy Boy with Chris Farley?
I've never actually watched the movie, but I know.
Okay, there's a scene where he's trying to do his dad's job, and he's trying to sell the like the brake pads to another guy, and he starts playing with their like toy cars, and he crashes the car, and they're burning alive. He's like, "Here comes the meat wagon, wee you, wee you, wee you." The coroner is sitting there as the new guy pukes out, and he's just going, "Oh my god!" So apparently, they were still using the word meat wagon well into the 90s.
Huh. Yeah. Well, an interesting euphemism for it nonetheless, right? Holt, I'm the clock, and I want to help you talk fast. The clock? You'll help me? Good, good. Easy, old chap. Don't get excited. Tell me your story quickly. Got in some trouble. Not not bad. Whoever found it out demanded my ruby collection. To keep quiet about it.
But at this point in time, the clock actually seems like a pretty popular guy. You know, he could just say like, "I'm the clock," and somebody immediately knows what he is.
Yeah, there was a lot of that going on in comics at this point. We've heard of in some of these stories where it's kind of funny because when the very first clock story we read, they indicated that he was already well. I don't know if you remember, not one we read earlier, but a previous Dollman story where they had talked about how he had previously been kind of known.
Yeah. So it just assumes that they're kind of throwing you into a story that's already in motion, like the guy has done things before that, which means the newspapers would have been writing about his escapades, or at least the reports of it from eyewitnesses.
Yeah. Due to his condition, Holt's voice begins to weaken. Don't stop now, man. Who threatened you? I got note to turn stones over to messenger signed Reaper. This confirms that note I found, and there's only one crook in the city known as the Reaper. I think I'll pay him a little visit. Meanwhile, Trigger, where's Dutch? He's dead. He's dead. Is the Reaper in? Yes, go in. You know what to do, and talk loud enough. Yes, Trigger. They got Dutch, Chief. When we saw Holt talking to Captain King and another guy, we figured he was calling in the cops. So I let him have it. We was chased by Kane and this other mug, and they shot our tires and made us turn over. Dutch was killed, and I got away and came straight here. That's all. Very well, Trigger. You may go, but be nearby. I may need you shortly. What do you think? What do you think? What are some possibilities? He said he may need him shortly. What might he need him for shortly?
Well, there's many possibilities, but he might know somebody's on his trail, so he might need him to take somebody out shortly. Might need him to do another job. I don't know.
Could it also be that maybe in the back of his mind, Reaper's thinking, "You don't. Why would you lead people here?"
Yeah. Like I said, he might think that somebody's on his trail, so.
Yeah, but then but the two suggestions you made is that maybe he might suggest that he might send them back out to eliminate whoever's tailing him.
Maybe there's a lot of possibilities it could go.
Yeah, Or another possibility is maybe he'll think of eliminating this guy.
Maybe. Might use him as bait as well. Bait's always a good thing.
Well, let's see what happens here. Attention, men. Doc. Find out what hospital attention, men. Doc. Find out what hospital Holt is in, and watch it day and night. I want the meddlesome fool that drove Kane tonight. He's going to pay for Dutch's life with his own. That's one order that won't be carried out, Mr. Reaper. The clock. And don't bother to call for help. Doc and Trigger are tied up just as you're going to be. Now go out into the hall. With the Reaper and his gang securely bound, the clock crouches behind some bushes when suddenly, an officer. I'll inform him of the gang and at the same time have a little fun by throwing my voice.
So this is a little bit of what I expected, right? Like I said, where he might need him nearby because somebody was trailing him. He may need to take somebody out. Part of what I was thinking is that maybe like if somebody did come into his office, he would try to call them in to help him. But it seems the clock thought of that as well and already took him out ahead of time.
As the policeman passes a telephone pole, Oh, officer, if you go to 33 Pine Street, you'll find the Reaper and his gang tied up. What the? They're wanted for the shooting of Ted Holt. Where are ya? Who are ya? Deliver them to Captain Kane with the compliments of the clock. Oh, later. And that's just what happened, Captain. For a minute, I thought I was screwy. Nice work, Hogan. Another episode of The Clock in the March issue of Feature Comics. That one is a pretty quick one.
Yeah.
And I think we'll eventually get to the point where The Clock will become like 6, 7, 8 pages. But
yeah. It's a fun bit. You see it a lot in cartoons and stuff later, like especially like Shaggy throws his voice a lot in Scooby-Doo. But there's limits to being able to throw your voice based on like the acoustics of the area that you're in. It's something that like people on stage, they do a lot of prep work to make sure that the act works on the stage that they're on, because it's already hard enough to tell acoustics in a theater anyway. I don't think he outside of magic powers, I don't think he would have been able to throw his voice like that.
All right. Well, we're just a little beyond the 2-hour mark, so I think we'll start to wrap up here. So what I think I'll do now is, with today being Friday, November the 10th, 2023, go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. In 2018. All right. Well, without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look back at this day in Nietzsche history. How was it? All right, so I'm pretty sure that was the theme, and some Tom and Jerry too, throwing their voice.
Yeah, there was one where Tom was learning to throw his voice.
Yeah. This has been some great content, Mike and Mel. Thank you so much. No problem. We had the historical comic retrospect every Friday night with a different co-host. So, we can start getting some more people on to watch. I'm sure everybody will have fun with it. You'll have some fun with it. So, history, Nietzsche me up. All right. So with that, why don't we go ahead and do that then? So first off, I'm going to head back 70 years ago today, as on this date, 70 years ago, back in 1953, a couple of things happened from Walt Disney Company. As first off, Walt Disney Company produced Hamilton Lusky's Ben and Me, which was a cartoon about Benjamin Franklin. Also, on this date back in 1953, Walt Disney Company produced and premiered Ward Kimball and Charles A. Nichols' Toot, Whistle, Plunk, and Boom. It's the first Disney cartoon to be filmed and released in widescreen CinemaScope. So Ben and Me and Toot, Whistle, Plunk, and Boom both premiered in theaters from the Walt Disney Company on this date 70 years ago. So now getting ready to move on to the next piece in each history. I'm going to head in time here to going to head to 1999, which was 24 years ago today. On this date, 24 years ago today, the first issue of Angel from Dark Horse went on sale. I believe this might have been bought. I don't know if there's one or not, but this was this Angel was, of course, based on the Buffy character. The story was Surrogates, Chapter 1. It was written by Christopher Golden, penciled by Christian Zanier. Andy Owens did the inking, the lettering done by Amador Cisneros, with Wendy Fouts Broom doing the coloring. The story itself was 22 pages. The book was 32 pages and cost $2.95. So on this date, 24 years ago today, in 1999, the first issue of Angel from Dark Horse went on sale on newsstands. Moving on to the next piece in each history. On this date, back in 2003, on what was the Go Home Raw before that year's Survivor Series, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event from the Fleet Center in Boston, Massachusetts. The main event saw Batista and Goldberg go to a no contest. Also saw Chris Jericho defeat Booker T by DQ with Jonathan Coachman as the special guest referee. The Dudley Boys defeated Mark Henry, Scott Steiner via DQ. Shawn Michaels defeated Randy Orton. Lita and Terry Reynolds lost to Gary O'Kim and Molly Holly. La Resistance defeated Rosie and the Hurricane. And the opening match saw Rob Van Dam retain the Intercontinental Championship over Christian. So that happened 20 years ago today. And finally, actually, no, not finally. Finally, on this date 5 years ago today, as part of the Monogatari series, the Shaft's Zoku Orari Monogatari premiered in Japanese theaters on this date 5 years ago today.
So I like Monogatari.
What was that?
I said I like Monogatari.
Yeah. So Zoku Orari Monogatari, or Gatari, premiered on this date in 5 years ago, back in 2018. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Metal, if you can stick around for a couple moments after show for post show.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Of course, we'll be back here again on Sunday. Metal, I hope you can join us then to share your experiences on what we read tonight. And with that, I hope well, let's see. Yeah.
I'm resharing both the X Dinos Chaos and Vomitorium Live links as well.
Yeah. And then after Vince absorbed and started absorbing the WCW, I kind of just quit watching wrestling. Yeah. A lot of people did, I believe, but with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody will hope everybody will be back to join us this Sunday when we have our panel show. Next Friday, of course, will be Rick Piper with me, as we'll be continuing our look through look at comics that went on sale back in 1939. Let's see. I believe we'll be going over I'll have to double check. I have them listed on my community board, so I always check those out because I've been posting our schedules for that too. And then Metal just had a couple of things here, so show you guys that. So with that,
if you like comics and fiction, check out xdynamischaos.com. If you like more news but contemporary to stuff like this, go check out the Vomitorium Live. We're live tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, and we'll see you all on Sunday. Bye.